I don't know, but okay. I'll say that later. And I'll start recording before we finish, just in case there's any questions and something that you might want to say that doesn't need to be recorded. That's fine with me. Okay. Let's get back to the slides. So this is our agenda for the day. We don't have a huge agenda because we need to get back to being together and talking to each other, but there's some information that I wanted to give to you because I think it's really important. I don't want to just have us study chapters of the Bible and not study, the breakdown part, how to break the Bible down. So agenda, let's check in with each other. How are you? Do we have any new people or any returning people? And then the next thing we're going to do is what is the Pentateuch? And next is review what we know about the books, the book of Exodus, and what you want to know in a breakout room. We're going to go to chapter 13. Today, I'm going to say it's chapter 13, part 1, because chapter 13 is kind of big, so I don't want to rush through it. And what Weil is working on next, and then we're going to pray out. So I'm going to stop sharing so we can check in with each other, and that's fine with me. I don't want us to take the recording and all of a sudden we change our personality, and we shouldn't. We should be natural. We should be inviting. We should, because this is who we are. This is what Weil is. It's not, y'all already know. We're real. So how's everybody doing? We haven't seen each other since 2021 on this type of platform. I've seen some of you, but not on this platform. So how are we doing? How are we doing? Look, she got her thumb up. She's funny. Anybody want to share or say anything? How you doing with the baby, Amira?
Good. I just got in from work. Say hi, Kayla.
Hey. So cute. He's so cute. Oh.
How old is he now?
5 months.
Oh my gosh.
Time is flying, right?
He's adorable.
He really is.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to go back into, go ahead, Amira, you can say thank you, girl. He looks like he looks like Amira. Yes. So what is the Pentateuch? I'm going to share with you what the Pentateuch is. The Pentateuch is the first 5 books of the Bible that were believed to be written by Moses. So does anybody know what those first 5 books are? Anybody know what those first 5 books are?
Matthew, Mark, John, Luke.
The first 5 books of the Bible.
Genesis,
Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
Mm-hmm. Those are the first 5 books of the Bible. Yes. And I got a little video here on the Pentateuch. I don't like long videos. I don't like them at all, especially when we're doing this, because I don't want a whole sum of videos and not conversation or talking about God's word. But this was a very short one. And I think it's really, it gets there. He's not too difficult to understand. It's a little accent, but he's really good and he gets straight to it. So let me just share it with you, okay? All right, let me see something else. Tell me if you can hear it, Stephanie. Can you give me a thumbs up?
The title Pentateuch refers to the first 5 books of the Bible. The word Pentateuch can be broken down into 2 Greek words from which it was derived. Penta means 5. Teuchos means a cylindrical utensil or a tool probably used for containing the scriptural scrolls within them. Hence, the word Pentateuch means 5 scrolls or books. The Pentateuch in Hebrew is known as the Torah. It means instruction or law. It is called as Torah because it contains the law of Moses. The Mosaic Law forms the foundation for the Israelites as a nation and as a religion. The Pentateuch not only contains the law but contains also different forms of writings such as poetry, legends, genealogies, and epic history of the nation. Traditionally, it was believed by the Christians as well as the Jews that the Pentateuch was written by Moses. We see that Jesus himself calls Pentateuch the book of Moses. Mark chapter 12 verses 26. But biblical scholars would not consider Moses as the actual author of the entire Pentateuch. They say that these books were attributed to Moses because he is the central figure and the authority behind these books. But what does the Pentateuch tell us actually? In a nutshell, Pentateuch is about the story of the origins and about the early life of Israelites. The book of Genesis begins with the stories of creation and God's blessings. But soon, sin enters into human history and man incurs the wrath, warning, and punishment of God. But God always finds ways and means to continue His blessings through covenants which have long-term reverberations in the history of humankind and Israel in particular. The books of Exodus presents liberation of Israelites from slavery of Egypt and shows how they become the chosen people of the covenant and their code of law. The book of Leviticus is a law book for priests. It also contains the norms and regulations every Israelite had to follow according to the Jewish cult to keep up to the holiness code. The book of Numbers narrates the story of the journey of Israelites through the desert to reach the promised land. Deuteronomy, being the last book, is a summary of the laws contained in the earlier books. The sense of justice, concern for the poor, the law of love, the absolute necessity of obedience to God were all derived from these laws.
So that's the Pentateuch. So it's believed, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It's believed that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible because they saw a lot of evidence of Moses in all 5 books and what Moses spoke about from book to book to book. Because how would a person know this from that? There's been arguments as far as Genesis, like Moses, you weren't there, so how do you know? How do you know what happened in Genesis? Anybody think they want to share? How do you think Moses knew what happened and how could he have written Genesis? Or even, how could he have done that?
God spoke to him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. God spoke to him and God told him what to write, what to do. This is the information. This is called the Pentateuch. So this is why. Anybody else?
Well, and there were people on the earth before Moses. And so back then, a lot of the way that they passed on their information was by storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Storytelling being passed down from generation to generation. But in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth. Moses wasn't there for that. So we also know that storytelling got into, Stephanie's right, the other information, but we know God spoke to Moses because that information, no one would have known that unless God spoke to you. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't mean to share.
So let's say you have to.
Hold on. Okay, so that's the Pentateuch. Any questions on the Pentateuch? Okay, it's amazing how it's broken down in the Torah, right? It's the 5 books, it's a tool. Let me get back in here. I'm sorry. I'll figure it out, but I'm trying to. You guys can talk to each other. Y'all don't have to sit there like bumps on a log. They're like,
We listening to you.
no. I'm talking, y'all, that's a sleep deprived person right there. So. Okay, I found it.
You're tired.
Okay, so I was going to do this, but I don't think we really need to do this. Let's go on a breakout review with a partner. We can just talk about it right here. What are some things that we remember about Exodus and some of the things that we went over in here, or the things that even outside of meeting with women of wisdom? What are some things that you remember that might have moved you, that you might have been, oh my goodness, I didn't know that, or some things you might want to know that made you even think a little deeper? We need participation. Y'all know this is a workshop, not just teaching. So what are some things? And Mama Rouse, you can use the chat if you want to speak. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see you and we can talk about this and move on. Then we'll move on from there. What are some things that you've learned when we met here, and some things that you remember, and some things you want to expound on, or you're curious about? What's next?
I'll go.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So there were 3 significant things for me in Exodus. A lot of it is based on God, like you can see God's protection and love for his people in a deep way. So whenever they were getting ready to leave, or they had, left the Egypt, then he had them roam around. They took the long way around. God had them take the long way because they had been enslaved so long that they didn't know how to live free. And so he knew that if they had gone straight directly to the promised land, then they were not spiritually ready to fight the giants. They would have been scared back to Egypt and back into the bonds that they were just freed from. And so I just think about that as a personally, it's like, okay, make sure that the things that God has told me to set down and that I've done the work to set them down, leave them set down. Don't pick them up again. The other thing is just learning that when they were walking through the Red Sea, it was a type of baptism, and how God, through his Holy Spirit and the water, washes us clean and moves us into a new phase. And so those kind of set down. And then just how God is in charge of even evil bends to what God wants. He's sovereign over everything. And so then he can take over creation and make creation do what he needs it to do for his plan. And we forget that sometimes. Sometimes we think evil is more in charge than it really is.
Yeah. And we get scared of it.
Yeah, it drives, fear sets in. And so,
yeah, we become afraid, and while it's there, we're supposed to be patient. But sometimes, like you said, what Stephanie is talking about, we're going to read it today in chapter 13, verse 17. And when we get to it, we'll read it. But I read another version. I went to, and which confirms what you're saying. But I like to read other versions of the Bible, but I like the King James, but I like to have clarification. So the Good News translation did say that he didn't want them to go that way, because if there was war, if they had to fight again, they'd be like, oh my God, I just came out of this. I might as well go back where I came from. Yeah, like, I don't want to do this. So he did. It shows that God has compassion for us. We don't always have to go through a whole lot. Let me take them another way so they can avoid, even though they want to go back to Egypt at the end, they still wanted to go back because they just wanted to be disobedient. But yeah, that was good. Anybody else want to talk about what we might have learned, or what you've known on your own? Or
I'll go next. So what really struck me when I was reading this book was that God really he spoke to Moses like a lot. He took Moses, he sent Moses to different places apart from the people, because he needed to talk to him alone. And when he was preparing him to talk to Pharaoh, is it? It was Pharaoh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said to him, he said, in, I think it was chapter 3, verse 14, it says, God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you.
Mm-hmm.
God also said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name by which I am to be remembered from generations to generations. And I thought that was really that verse just, it did something to me, because he just basically, because he was like, how are the people gonna believe me? And he was like, you tell them that I sent you. I am God, and I am the same God that I was back then.
Mm-hmm.
I am the same God now. And this is gonna be said from generations to generations. And it's true, like we're still talking about it. And I thought that it was just so amazing that that was said way back then. And, as we see in the Bible and so many books, like a lot of things that is said comes to life, but that one just kind of like stuck out that, it's just going on and on from one generation to the next. The story continues, and it's said over and over again. And I thought that was just so powerful. So,
Wow, that's good. Thanks for pointing that out. Anybody else? Thanks, Luz. Thanks, Stephanie. I want to point out something. I have a study guide. I'll share it with you. I shared it with Stephanie earlier in the week. It's called the Wilmington Guide to the Bible. So when you have the Bible, you should have other sources of studying. The Wilmington Guide to the Bible. This guy, they used to call him the Walking Bible in his college for years, but he made these amazing books. But what amazed me was, God calls people, and a lot of people that it seems that they have a calling, they don't jump to this calling. It's not something that they want. Many times they resist it, like me. I know I resisted this. I didn't want this. This is not something people say things now, and I'll be looking at them. Just stop it. But he said, I have no ability. Remember when Moses said that? Why are you calling me? I can't do this. I have no message. I have no authority. He gave all these excuses. He was like, I can't do this. I can't even speak right. My speech is bad. I have no speech. I have no inclination. Like, I'm not even up there. I'm just I'm just Moses, I don't have anything. I also thought it was fascinating that when he called Moses and Aaron, because remember he said, okay, I'm gonna let Aaron speak for you. He even gave him and the Bible doesn't make this big emphasis on Aaron. They made sure that they made Moses the emphasis in this book. And God said to Moses that I'm gonna use your brother, but he better not talk. He's gonna tell you this is you're gonna tell him what I said, but I'm not gonna tell him what I said. I'm telling you tell him. So, and remember when God used Moses was 80 and Aaron was like 83. So we come in this world sometime and go, oh, I'm too old for that. That's not even a lot of things we say and do. It's not, God be like, oh, it's worldly thinking. They were older. And it's funny that he didn't even say, I'm too old. He didn't say that. He just said all this other stuff, but he didn't say that. So those are just some of the things I thought was fascinating. Those are some of the things. So thanks for sharing. that, we're going to move on to chapter 13. Let me see what else is on the slide. I don't want us to be slide people. That's why I stopped and share, because I want to make sure that we are talking and doing music. This is a really quick review. Somebody wanted is coming back in. And this is really good, and it's only like 3 minutes. So I think we should do a little review, and then we'll go into chapter 13 and read chapter 13, okay?
This is Spoken Gospel. We're dedicated to seeing Jesus in all of Scripture. In each episode, we see what's happening in a biblical text and how it sheds light on Jesus and his gospel. Let's jump in. 9 of the 10 plagues have come upon Egypt. Pharaoh, with his hard heart, still will not change his mind and obey. So God sends a 10th and final plague. God says that he is going to punish the Egyptians by bringing death to their firstborns. The firstborn was a title signifying who would carry the family name. In Pharaoh's case, the firstborn would have taken the throne. By cutting off the line, God is saying that this evil, oppressive, idolatrous system of government and worship must come to an end. But everyone in Egypt participated in the worship of false gods and the oppression of Israel. By taking the firstborn, God is saying, I want all this evil to stop multiplying. Like the other plagues, Egypt would be afflicted, but Israel would be spared. But unlike the other plagues, this time God gives a visible sign that distinguished saved Israel from punished Egypt. If anyone would sacrifice a spotless lamb and spread its blood over the door of their homes, God would look at the blood and the punishment would pass over them. But this wasn't just a ritual, it was also a feast. By the people eating their sacrifice, they were forced to understand, appreciate, and enjoy what God was doing for them. This feast would also become the starting point for Israel's new yearly calendar. Every year, they were to remember this gracious act of God and eat the same meal. The story points us forward to what God has done for us in Jesus. The death of the firstborn in Egypt was God's way of saying that this evil must stop. By Jesus dying on the cross, God was putting evil to a stop once and for all. Not only does he disarm the spiritual powers of evil by taking away their weapon for condemnation, he actually stops evil from multiplying within us. When we are saved, the Holy Spirit begins a new work in us. Now we can do good instead of evil. The New Testament calls Jesus our Passover lamb. It was no accident that Jesus' death took place during the time when Israel was celebrating the Passover feast. He was showing that his death was the fulfillment of all the lambs slain to save the people of Israel. Now, anyone who puts their trust in what Jesus earned for them, his blood covers them like the lamb's blood covered the Israelites' doors. In the same way, God's judgment passes us over. Christians still participate in the Passover feast today. Whether you know it as the Lord's Supper, communion, the Eucharist, or by some other name, Christians have been eating this bread and drinking this wine for the last 2,000 years. When we eat this meal, we remember the lamb that was slain, that made it so we can be passed over from the judgment we deserved. I pray that the Holy Spirit opens your eyes to see the God of grace who passed you over even when you deserve death. And may you see Jesus clearly today as the Passover lamb who died so that you might live.
Okay, so let's go to our Bibles. Let's go to chapter 13. And let's read. We're going to be sharing in our reading. So I pray that everybody make sure you just say what version of the Bible that you're reading. Sometimes we'll go to other versions just to get clarification. I like the Amplified. I like the Good News Translation. That's the GNT. I have, and many of us have Bible apps on our phone. Many of you guys have Bible apps. Yeah. And your Bible apps take you to the different versions of the Bible, right up there at the corner. The Passion Translation is good, but the Passion Translation, I call that the Thug Bible. I like it though, because it's good if you really need to get a visual, a modern understanding. I don't think it's something you should read all the time, because I think sometimes, just like I said, we get watered down versions of some of these different versions. We have to be careful because it starts, the Bible is a sword. And in order to use your sword, you have to use the right language. Okay, so we don't want to be using this watered down version and want to know why the fight is so hard. So we have to be careful of that. So how are we going to go? I guess from what I'm seeing from my window, I see Luz, I see Stephanie, Mama Rouse, I can't hear her. So Jeanette, Skalani, Wanda, and Amira. And then I'll go last. And you can use the chat if you need to say something. Please use it, so I can see what's happening if you need to express something. So Luz, you're first. Tell us what version of the Bible you're using, and we'll move on from that. There's going to be some words I want you to write down because that's going to be our homework. We're going to start getting homework. We need homework. We do. I saw some words in here that had my head spinning today, but I said I want to address it today, but we will address it. Go ahead, Luz. I guess this is down to 22 verses. I guess we can read maybe 4 or 5. 5, 10, 15, 20. Luz, read 3. Everybody read like 3 verses. So Luz, you can read the first. Actually, read the first 4, because the 4th verse is really. Actually, wait, the first 5. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm reading from the New International Version. Okay, and the title says Consecration of the Firstborn. This is chapter 13, right? Okay. The Lord said to Moses, consecrate to me every firstborn male, the first offspring of every womb among the Israelites belongs to me, whether man or animal. Then Moses said to the people, commemorate this day, the day you came out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, because the Lord brought you out of it with a mighty hand. Eat nothing containing yeast. Today in the month of Abib, you are leaving when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites,
Hivites,
and
Jebusites.
Jebusites. The land he swore to your forefathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey. You are to observe this ceremony in this month.
Okay. Stephanie is next. You can go from 6 to 9.
I'm reading the English Standard Version. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten for 7 days. No leavened bread shall be seen with you, and no leaven shall be seen with you in all your territory. You shall tell your son on that day, it is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. And it shall be to you a sign on your hand and as a memorial between your eyes, that the law of the Lord may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand, the Lord has brought you out of Egypt.
Okay. Jeanette, who was that next? Was it Jeanette or Skalani, or somebody moved? Who was next?
I think it was Miss Jeanette, but I can read. It doesn't matter. Whatever y'all want.
Miss Jeanette, you got it, sweetie?
Yeah.
We're in verse 10, 13:10.
Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. And it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore unto thee and to thy father, and shall give it thee.
One more verse, Jeanette, if you don't mind.
That thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all the opening, the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the male shall be the Lord's. I read King James Version.
Yes, thank you. That's one of our homeworks on what is the matrix. Okay, in King James Version, it says matrix. So we probably went to another version, we'll probably see something different. So we need to get an understanding of what the matrix is, what he's speaking of. But we're not going to, we can look it up now and somebody can put it in the chat, but we're going to just continue to move on. Right now, God is planning on them to leave. He wants them, but before he's leaving, isn't it amazing how he's preparing them? Like he's giving them all these instructions. This is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it. And I'm telling you, eat this food and this is what has to be done. And he's giving them instructions. He's telling Moses to tell him, I'm sending them to a land filled with milk and honey. But other things are going to take over in their mind. But God is giving he's given instructions. And this is exactly what we need to do. Skalani, you next? Or is it Wanda? I think it's Wanda. Is it you, Wanda, or Skalani?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, go ahead, Skalani, then Wanda, then Amir.
Okay, chapter is fine.
Okay, I'm reading from the New International Version. 13, redeem with a lamb every firstborn donkey, but if you do not redeem it, break its neck. Redeem every firstborn among your sons. In days to come, when your son asks you, what does this mean? Say to him, with a mighty hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, the Lord killed the firstborn of both people and animals in Egypt. This is why I sacrifice to the Lord the first male offspring of every womb and redeem each of my firstborn sons.
Stop right there. Okay. In the King James Version, at the bottom of 15, it brings up the word the matrix again. So read verse 15 one more time, Skalani, please.
The matrix, it comes from, I think, the Latin word matriz, which is the womb.
Yes. So that's what the matrix
It helps
is.
out to have a linguist in the house.
Absolutely.
All right, what is it? Yep, Mary 15. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, the Lord killed the firstborn of both people and animals in Egypt. This is why I sacrifice to the Lord the first male offspring of every womb and redeem each of my firstborn sons.
Good. So that's what it is. It's the womb. It's the opening. It's where you are, and when you come out of it, out of the matrix. Okay. Wanda, 16. I think we're at 16, right?
Yes. I'm reading
16.
from the New Living Translation.
Gotcha.
This ceremony will be like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. It is a reminder that the power of the Lord's mighty hand brought us out of Egypt. When Pharaoh finally let the people go, God did not lead them along the main road that runs through Philistine territory, even though that was the shortest route to the promised land. God said, if the people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt.
This is where Stephanie was talking about, was a fascinating part in Exodus for her, how God had compassion for them and said, I don't want to go, I'm not going to send them that way because they're going to be discouraged. So I'm going to send them this way. So sometimes we don't know why God is taking a long way for us. We want to rush God, but God is like, listen, I already know what's going to happen if you have to go that way. So why don't you just listen to me and go that way? So it's amazing how he has a plan. He knows what's going to happen. He's God. Okay.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, give me one more verse, Wanda, then we'll move it on to Amira.
Okay. So God led them in a roundabout way through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. Thus, the Israelites left Egypt like an army ready for battle. That was 18. Ooh.
What you want to say, Wanda?
He knows it before. He knows, like you mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
He sent him on a roundabout way, but he already knows. He knows.
Yeah. He knows.
Mhm.
He knows. So he's sending them to the Red Sea.
Mhm.
And we know what's going to go on in towards the Red Sea. But God I believe God doesn't do one thing for one reason. To me, it never seems like that. It seems like he does one thing and many things come out of this one thing. So now they're going towards the Red Sea. And we know what's going to happen when he goes towards the Red Sea. If you don't know the story, the sea is going to open and they'll be able to walk through. And he's basically going to perform this amazing miracle right in front of their faces. And Stephanie called it like a baptism.
Mm.
And they're able to walk through. So when we get there, we'll know. But Amira, you want to finish up?
Okay, 1 second.
Mm-hmm. If not, you can pass
Oh,
me.
the bones.
What verse? You're on 19?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn to the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones away hence with you.
Stop right there. Everybody go to Genesis 50 real quick. Okay, so we know we've been through Genesis already. We know Joseph dies, and Joseph is like, I just thought this was funny, to me, because he's like, don't be leaving my body here. I do not want to be here. And people go, you dead. Who knows? Who cares? He said, take my bones. He already knew he ain't had nobody. Take my bones out of here. Get me out of here. Do not leave me here. So Joseph knew that they were coming. I don't care how many years ahead. Joseph knew they were going to be leaving. He knew he wasn't going to see it. But he wanted his bones he wanted his body gone. So if you go to 50, and this is at the bottom, around 22 to 26, Joseph is dying. Let me see.
22.
Joseph 50:24. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob. God told him he was going to take him out of here. I swear, Abraham, I promise this to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we're leaving. Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you. And so Joseph died. I'm trying to find that part where Joseph said, take my body. Because I saw it.
Verse 25.
You see it? Oh, so
Yeah.
that's it right there. What version do you have? King James Version?
NIV.
Can you read what you have?
It says, and Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath and said, God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place. So
Okay.
Joseph died at the
Mhm.
age of 110, and after they embalmed him, he was placed in a coffin in Egypt.
Okay, so we fast forward and we go back to chapter 13 in Exodus. That would be another good homework assignment. How long was that from the time that Joseph died to when Moses had to leave to take his body out? So look, Moses took him out. Isn't that great? He promised. Nobody said Moses and Joseph had a conversation. He knew he better get them bones out. Gotta get them. So go ahead, Amira.
Okay, and they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them the light, to go by day and night. He took away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night, but from before the people. Sorry.
It's okay. So he made sure they had light, and he made sure they had shade.
Mhm.
God is just so amazing. You want to see? We're going to cut the light on because I want you to keep moving. You hot? I'll give you some shade. Make sure you don't melt out there. Keep moving. Chapter 13. Anybody want to say anything about chapter 13?
So I learned recently that when it says in the Bible, like God's hand or the finger of God, that's like very meaningful. And I don't know the differences between like the finger, the arm, or the hand, but I know that when it says that, it means something. So I don't know. I guess that's something like that maybe we could look into.
Yeah, Pastor Bernard from Christian Cultural Center was just speaking about that. I will definitely send you guys that sermon. He talked about the hand and the finger. And there's another part he was also discussing. So, when the hand of God is upon you and the finger of God, touches something, God is very significant in his word. That's why it's so important to study the word of God, not just take it for, what it is and to share like we're sharing. And that's good. So that can be another question, is something we come back to share. Go ahead, Skalani, she got her hand up.
I was going to say, in the Vatican, in one of the rooms, the entire ceiling is a depiction of the hand of God.
Wow.
It's one of like the most revered. They don't let you really take pictures of it, but Michelangelo did an entire ceiling of this very important room. So I guess, Luce, you're right. It must mean, I thought it had to do with creation, but I may be wrong. Maybe that part of it had to do with creation.
So they tell you not to take a picture?
Nope. You can't take a picture of that, which I think is silly because it should belong to all of us.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's a picture somewhere on the internet that you can see.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe it's some, go ahead.
No, I'm pretty sure I took a picture anyway from inside of my bag, but I don't know where that picture is. But if I find it, I will share it. One thing I wanted to point out, I think Amira read in part 20, after leaving Sukkot, they camped at Etam, and there's a holiday, and in New York City, you may see like little houses going up outside of people's homes in September, October, and it's Jewish people still commemorate this. Yeah, it's a very, and they eat outside every meal during this holiday, so they commemorate this time in Exodus.
Yes. And that's not a date that we get off, but if you can observe that as a religious observance day and get that day off if you are Jewish. If you work on our job, if you're working for the Department of Education, there's some Jewish holidays that's not recognized by the Department of Education. However, you can get off. So Sukkot, yes. Anybody have any more questions for Exodus? Go ahead, Jeanette. Exodus chapter 13.
Chapter 13, 19, where it said Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones away hence with you. My question is, so that means he had to bones them all this time through the whole thing through Egypt, or?
I'm pretty sure he dug them up. He dug them up, because if we go back to Genesis, it says he was placed in a coffin and he was buried. It says that. I don't know if the buried part, let me not, because the Bible is very significant. He took the oath in 26 that Joseph died being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. So he might have been put in a
probably in a cave.
Yeah, because that's how they buried them.
Right.
So
they weren't not like how we do.
No, they don't. Yeah. So he opened up the coffin and took the bones out. That's all.
I mean, that many years later, It would have been
Of
both.
course. That's exactly why I said, okay, you keep doing these hand gestures.
He said he wrapped them
Yeah,
up.
they used to wrap
They
them like
wrapped
a
them.
mummy. Yeah.
Go ahead, Wanda. You reading her.
I'm reading her lips.
Go
They
ahead,
wrapped them
Wanda.
up. I got you.
Got you, Mama
I
Rouse.
got you, Mama Rouse. Yeah, so she said they wrapped them like a mummy
Yeah,
and embalmed them.
because that's
Right.
what they did in Egypt at the time. So yes, Jeanette, no, he's everybody's in Egypt. Let's assume everybody's in Egypt, but they're making this exit. So all you got to do is go in there, get them bones, and get out of there. My whole question was, can we figure out? That's a good homework question. Everybody write that question down. Can we figure out from the time that Joseph died to the time that Moses made this exit, what was the time frame? How many years was that? And we might say, look at Lulu's going, nah, yeah, we can. That's
I mean,
there.
we can figure it out, but we got to go back and read from the end of Genesis to where they at now to kind of, and then you got to really like decipher, because it's not.
You got to do your research,
right?
Because the Bible, I want us to understand. Look at her, she holding up us. Go ahead, Wanda, you interpret. She's saying Google it.
Dad, check it out on your phone. She's like, check your phone.
Just Google it. Google it, right?
Google it.
Well, we do.
Check your source. Make sure your source is
Yeah, please. I was just getting ready to say, because everything on Google.
It's
and
not.
YouTube,
It's Google. It's Google
not
for Cocoa Pops, right?
Yeah, right. People crazy. But thank you for interpreting today, Miss Wanda. You're amazing.
Yes, I got it.
Check your source. It can be figured out, but it's so important to understand time frames like that, because it goes to say that God has promises. He can make a promise 100 years from your kid can get 100. You say God say you're gonna do something right now. 100 years down the line, He's doing it. Mm-hmm. God is a timeless God. He don't look at time like we look at time.
No. So Stephanie was saying that he made the people march around. How many years? They were like just wandering around.
40 years. Mama,
you didn't know that?
40 years.
That's the clue, right? That's the clue right there. Just to give you a small piece of it, so it's like a whole lot of years.
Well, when they left, they had to march around 40 years. Right? They were marching around 40 years. But we're talking about from the time that Joseph died to the time that they left.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So we know it's more than 40 years.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's more like 300 or 400 years.
Right. Something like that. Yeah.
It's a lot of years.
A lot of years.
A lot of years.
A lot of years to hang on to them bones.
Jeanette brought that topic up, and we just like, that's fascinating.
A long time.
Yeah, a long time. Well, you know what? He fulfilled his promise. I want my bones. Just please take them out of here. I want to go. And
and God preserved them over all that time too. They didn't disintegrate or any of that stuff. Like there was a purpose. Like his bones were supposed to be in the promised land, not in Egypt.
Yes. Yeah. That was even significant. They weren't supposed to be there.
Yes.
That
makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, get them out of there. Because by that time, 300, 200 years down the block, ain't no bones. No bones. Like it ain't supposed to, don't look like that. So okay, so that's about it for today. Thank you, ladies. I hope you had a very good Bible study.
I did.
Yeah. You had a very good Bible. There's so much to learn. Make sure you read chapters 14, and we're going to get a little deeper into that. Chapter 14 and 15. Let's do 2 chapters, 14 and 15. 14 and 15. Let's read that for the next one. We'll have a couple of questions for chapter. We're going to have some homework for chapter 13. Just one homework, one little question. We need to know that information. Let's research it anyway, see what we come up with, okay? What was the period from when Joseph died all the way up to when his bones were exited out of Egypt? Simple. let's see what we all come up with, what we get, how deep our research gets. I wanted to ask you guys a question. How do you feel about changing the day to Friday? I know Luz works on some days, Friday evenings. I know a lot of us are going back to church, and this is our Sabbath day. And many people are still, they're home, we're relaxed and all that stuff. Well, how would you feel about 7 p.m. Friday evenings? And this is recorded. So, if you can't make it, you can always get the recordings, but it's still not like being in here with us, So give me some feedback. Talk to me, people.
I said, just try it and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know people are coming from work, but we'll do it at 7 o'clock. We'll do our best to come out.
Because most during the week, most people have that have Bible study to do it at 7.
Yeah. But we're talking about hours on Friday at 7. I just want to respect the Sabbath. I want to respect your Sunday. I know that, some of you are still busy with your families, and this gives you time to sit with your families and do whatever you do, have dinner, Bible study, go wherever you need to go. And I think, we can go that route. I don't need to show you this slide, but the next thing I have some up and coming things for a while. I've been meeting with people, just the board, separate people, to talk about like social media content, mailing lists and other things. And we're going to be focusing a little bit on social media, promoting social media and some of the things we do on social media. I can edit this recording so nobody's going to hear the rest of this conversation. I can start recording now. Let me just start recording.